Morning. Good morning. Look at this. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? I've just realised I've left the banner going across the bottom of the screen there, which is going to kind of give the game away a little bit, but what the hell. Apologies for my longer than expected 13-day absence, but what's the expression? ConExpo kicked my ass. It really absolutely destroyed me. We clocked up 30,000 steps on the first day in Las Vegas, ruined my feet, and jet lag ensured that I witnessed every single sunrise while I was there too. And that was just the beginning. When I got back, my body clock decided that I should now sleep all day and basically stare at my ceiling all night. I had to go to Liverpool yesterday for a filming mission with my son Fred. Thankfully, I took the train because I literally didn't sleep a wink at all the night before. However, it was all worth it, as you're about to hear. Not only was the show great, as you'd expect, but it allowed me to replenish the goodie box with plenty of merch to give away over the coming days and weeks. There's a bit of that going on at the bottom of the screen there. I have hats, in no particular order, hats from the likes of Rockback and Devolon and Liebherr and Alu and Zoomline. I've got things to keep. I never know with these. Are they to keep your hands warm or your beer cold? I'm never entirely sure. And we've also got this. I'll come back to that. What else have we got? Yeah, we've got I guess it's a disposable water pouch from the fine folks at Rockback as well. Loads and loads of stuff to give away. I've even got a pair of Alu socks, and I've got some Alu models as well, all of which will be going out the door at some point in the very near future. But we're going to start small today, and that's what the clue is down below. If you would like your chance to win a self-assembly wooden iPhone stand for your desk, there it is. I don't know how. No, you're not going to see that very well because it's in a wrapper. If you would like to be in with a chance of winning that, then please just type the word Penta, P-E-N-T-A, into the chat. We'll be doing the prize draw at the very end, and we've got. I think we've got at least one. We've possibly got two. We may even have three of those to give away. Won't do them all today. Just do the one today. We're going to spread these out. Save a few more for a bit later on when we launch our brand new show, which is coming very, very soon. I'll tell you more about that some other time. Now, without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this long overdue show on the road. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I'm your host, Mark Anthony. It is Thursday, the 23rd of March. 13 days since I was last sat here. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, OilQuick sets up shop in the US. We're taking a walk among the stands of ConExpo. There's a familiar face on the XCMG stand. Plus, we have the unspoken truth about Las Vegas. We're going to get to all that in just a second. But first, let's see who among the rich and the shameless will be celebrating a birthday on this day of days. Happy birthday! And it's many happy returns to movie icon Joan Crawford and to legendary movie director Akira Kurosawa. You know, Seven Samurai, if you know your movies. Happy birthday also to the first man to run a mile in under 4 minutes, Roger Bannister, to comedian Barry Cryer, soul singer Chaka Khan, and to Wet 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 singer Marty Pellow, to cricketer Mike Atherton, former model and TV presenter Gail Poulter, Gail Poulter, goalkeeper Jersey Dudek, super cyclist Chris Hoy, and to super athlete Mo Farah. Many happy returns to them, one and all. Now, before we get started, here's a very quick reminder of our question of the day. It's a very important question today because Las Vegas has a lot going for it. A lot going for it. Internet connectivity is not one of them. My hotel, I didn't have enough speed to even download, let alone upload, 1 megabyte per second, which is pretty much dial-up speeds from back in the day. And if you wanted Wi-Fi connectivity at the Las Vegas Convention Center, $79 a day. Yes, now you know why I didn't broadcast live from the show. Now, What do we got? Oh, yeah, we need some of this. Yep, just catching up with the. Let's have a look. I'm just going to throw this one up because I haven't seen this one before. Not entirely sure how you pronounce that name, but as you are a newcomer here, sir or madam, you get the welcome confetti. Thank you very much indeed for being here. I'm going to switch that off, hop back to the comments because I know we had one from. Was the Cat D11B dozer on display at the LA show? Not as the LV show, should it be? Not as far as I'm aware. Do you know, I didn't set foot on the Caterpillar stand at all. Far too busy elsewhere. Most of their stand was dedicated to the operator competition or whatever it is that they call it. Had no time for that whatsoever. So you may need to check with somebody else. My question of the day was, what did I miss? Jim Turner says not much, thankfully. Right, let's begin with one of the big news announcements from the ConExpo show last week. A news item that may well have passed by lesser journalists, of which there are many. OilQuick is about to commence manufacturing its trademark quick couplers stateside. Following the initial success of the product in North America, the company has entered into a joint venture that will see OilQuick products made in the US, specifically, no great surprise, for the US market. Here is Kevin Barine to take up the story.
So I'm Kevin Barine, CEO of OilQuick Americas, and just want to say thanks for the opportunity to share with you the fact that we have formed a joint venture with OilQuick Sweden. So this is the OilQuick product, a fully automatic quick coupler that we started to represent in the U.S. in 2016, and knew at that point that when the opportunity grew big enough that we were going to manufacture that product in the U.S. That has happened. And we're just happy to announce that we formed a joint venture with OilQuick Sweden team and have invested millions of dollars into new machine tools, robotic welders, and all of that is set up and fired up, ready to for that first production to happen in Q2 of this year. So we're just a couple of weeks away from that whole line being fired up. It's a very big commitment, especially today when everybody is struggling to find employees and all of that. But we are we've made that commitment, we've made the investment, and all of it has been made in the right tools, the right machines, the right welders, and we're just excited to be at this point where we're at to start that production. The quick couplers, they're in the past there has been the attempt to bring them to the U.S. market. Maybe timing wasn't quite right on that, but I know that really since we've been representing the product starting in 2016, there has just been a steady increase in awareness and in market acceptance and all of that of the quick coupler. So OilQuick Americas is responsible to develop the market in North America and South America, and all of that product will be coming out of the U.S., which we have a team of engineers and of course all the manufacturing side, but we have really the full gamut of disciplines to manufacture and engineer this product. We have the full stock of wear parts at our facility in Superior, as well as we now have 7 technicians around the country, as well as other dealers that have been, whether they're factory trained, service technicians, that type of thing. So we have our own crew that will go out there and do setup and service, as well as we have some relationships with other certified vendors out there. It's the OilQuick name brand that is going on the product, and so there's no doubt that we had to have and do have a high level of trust and respect for each of our companies, and now to have joined up and made that investment together. We're just happy to be at this point.
It's interesting. Watching the rise of OilQuick in the US is like seeing history repeating in many ways. I charted the initial arrival, the initial resistance, and the ultimate surrender to the OilQuick system here in the UK, and it's following precisely the same pattern now over in the US. Still early days for quick couplers. There are a few early adopters, including one. While I was on the OilQuick stand shooting that film, I actually met up with Ricky Webb from East Coast Demolition, who is a viewer of this show, but he's also an OilQuick convert. we shot a film with Ricky. We'll be bringing that to you very, very soon. Now, don't forget. Let me see if I can do this. It's the other way. There we are. Type the word Penta, Penta, into the chat for your chance to win an iPhone stand, and it looks like that. Looks like a piece of IKEA self-assembly furniture. Very smart. You'll like it. Trust me, you will. Now we need to roll one of these. And we are going from news to views. As I've said previously, one of my aims with this show and with our show coverage is to give you a flavour of what the show looked like without the blisters and without you having to fly 10,000 miles to go there. So I took a quick spin around some of the key exhibitors on the ConExpo festival grounds just to show you this. Yeah, that was shot literally the first morning of the first day of the show, which is A, why it was cloudy, and B, why that Volvo EC500 was still under wraps. But hope you enjoyed the walk around. I was planning to do more walk arounds in the various show halls as well, but they were so busy you would have seen basically nothing. However, we do have plenty of show coverage to bring you in the coming days, weeks, and possibly even months. Now, before I move on, don't forget to type the word Penta into the chat for your chance to win. Just done. There you are. It looks like that. iPhone stand. Very smart for your desk. And I've had a message from Lou Carney, who says she has DM'd me. Lou, I'm not sure where you sent it, but I'm seeing nothing here. But I'll go and check a bit more thoroughly after the show. Now, before that, we need to do one of these. Now, obviously, myself and Fred spent the whole of ConExpo pointing a camera at machines, at stands, and at individual people as well. Every once in a while, those tables were actually turned. In fact, I was filmed on about half a dozen stands for various reasons. And one of those aiming a video camera at me was the third largest construction equipment manufacturer in the world. None other than XCMG.
For XCMG, we are looking forward international market is our key strategy.
New company, we just started 3 years ago. Okay. So we have a growth plan with XCMG that we're working to achieve. But
at XCMG, we're fairly new to the United States, so this is where we plan to make our big splash.
I've had a really good time on the XCMG stand. Very welcoming, as XCMG always is.
XCMG at ConExpo, solid to succeed.
Yeah, for reasons I cannot actually explain, I actually appear in a couple of XCMG films. You can find them over on the XCMG page over on LinkedIn. Now, hot news. You might recall, I think it was Gary Muirhead asked me to ask XCMG when they were coming to the UK. I did. I asked the question. One of the guys that you saw in that film there, Tom Schwind, who is heading up the US operation, told me that they should be here already, but they'd had trouble finding the right people to launch the thing, and he assured me that they were coming. And then this dropped from Lou Carney. XCMG will be coming to Plantworks for the first time. I can't wait. Lou, neither can I. It's big news for XCMG. It's even bigger news, I think, for Plantworks. XCMG are coming to Plantworks. If you weren't planning to be there already, and if you weren't, what the hell were you thinking? Now you have another reason to go. XCMG coming to Plantworks. I was going to say you heard it here first. That's obviously not true because Lou knew it ahead of us, but you get the idea.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Good question from Gary Muirhead. I wonder if XCMG will be allowed to sell in the USA after China has now joined Russia for World War III. I did, off camera, I did mention the political situation around the world, and I was assured that I think part of the plan of actually setting up an XCMG company in the US, obviously not for manufacturing, but for import and that kind of thing, was to... Tom Schwind made a great deal of the fact that this was a US company selling Chinese products. It wasn't a Chinese company selling Chinese products. Whether that's a workaround or not, I'm not entirely sure. But I think they are very, very committed. They've obviously set up quite an organisation there since ConExpo last time around. So this was the first time they were showing under their own name. We mentioned the fact that XCMG are going to Plantworks. You should already be registered. If you're not, that's where you do it. Plantworks, plantworks.co.uk. Plantworks. Register now. Plantworks.co.uk. Make sure you do that. Good morning, Mark, and all. Welcome back. Thanks very much indeed, Jeff. Didn't get a chance to see the Brock stand either. It was a very different show this time around, and I will bore you with this a bit more afterwards. But because we had filming commitments with so many stands, there were big lumps that I missed. I didn't get to Hydromech. I didn't get to Case. I didn't get to Bobcat. Missed off some big names because we were committed elsewhere. Will I live to regret that? Possibly. Let's have a look. Ken Hatch says, yes, I was thinking the same thing. They will have to start manufacturing in the USA. You never know. You never know. I'm not entirely sure how the Chinese would feel about releasing things like that, but hey, you never know. Now, I have... what do I do? I've forgotten how this show works. Bear with me.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
I'm just going to answer this one very quickly. No case, says Ken Hatcher with wide eyes. Did we overdo it? Maybe we did. Because we sold it hard. I'll be absolutely honest with you. We did sell it hard, and we went to all of the major brands and offered our services, both in terms of filming video and in terms of social media as well. With hindsight, we may have overcommitted ourselves. We allowed 2 to 3 hours per stand. Well, when you've done that for 20 odd companies, it doesn't really leave a great deal of time for messing about. Although, as you're about to see, I did still get to go and have a mosey around. But no, didn't get to the case stand, didn't get to the Bobcat stand. I walked across the Hedromex stand and thought I will come back to this. Didn't get to do that. As I said, bypassed the Caterpillar stand. Because it was dedicated almost entirely to their operator challenge, and I didn't have time to sit there and watch the rounds and stuff like that. Didn't really pay too much attention to that, but spent a lot of time with Liebherr and Devolon and Cabelco, OilQuick, Kinsoffer, Grib, who you'll be seeing tomorrow. So we covered a lot of the show, but yeah, we did miss out some fairly big lumps. Now, speaking of ConExpo, as we were... I know. If you look back at the video that we showed you earlier, Ken, just to make it clear, all of the other stands had very sort of open fronts. The Caterpillar stand was done almost like an arena. So there were machines outside with product specialists, but as you can imagine, the Caterpillar stand was extraordinarily busy. No great surprise. This is their backyard at the end of the day. But to actually get in, you had to go in to watch the operator challenge, which was going on sort of every hour on the hour or something like that. But in order to do that, you had to dedicate probably an hour, maybe even more than that. And while I'd have been doing that, I could have been earning money elsewhere. Don't regret not seeing the operator challenge, because there are plenty of those around the world and what have you. But do I regret not getting onto some of those stands? Yes, I probably do. As Steve Williamson said, you need to be there to really understand how widespread the show was. Yeah, I know Ken Hatcher, I think, put a note earlier about just how big the show was. To give you an idea of how big it's grown, last time, back in ConExpo 2020, I was going from our hotel on the monorail to the far end of the show, and then using the monorail to work my way back to the hotel over the course of the day. The show was that big this time that I actually ended up taking Ubers and lifts between the festival ground and the various halls. Racked up about 300 quid's worth of Uber and Lyft journeys while I was there. The show was that big and that far spread. So yeah, I was never ever going to see it all. Do feel like I missed a bit more than maybe I should have done, but there we are. Now, let's stick with Las Vegas. And I don't want to appear ungrateful. I do realize just how lucky I was to spend an entire week strolling among the diggers. And I also realize there's a lot of people out there, including a good few people in the audience here, who would have got far more out of the trip than I did. But this return to the Las Vegas Convention Center brought me full circle. When I left Las Vegas in 2020, I thought I was coming home to resume my journalistic career, magazines. COVID apparently had other plans, and that is what spawned what would eventually become this show. However, rather than being an opportunity to celebrate my unplanned career divergence, my return actually gave me a great deal of pause for thought. Like my career, Las Vegas has changed a lot in 3 years, but unlike my career, the changes in Las Vegas are not necessarily for the better. I'm going to play you this. Okay, this is a video I wasn't expecting to record or to produce when I first touched down in Las Vegas a few days ago. Before I start, probably need to give you a bit of context. I'm actually filming this on my last day of the ConExpo show. There is another day tomorrow. I won't be here because I'm going to actually take a bit of time out with the family and go and see Las Vegas. But I've been here for the past week, effectively. First time I've been back to Vegas in 3 years, and the change in that 3 years has been striking, really striking, and not entirely in a good way. The show itself has been incredible. Everything you'd expect a ConExpo to be. Absolutely fantastic. The equipment, the people at the show, the crowds, the spirit of the show has been everything that you could possibly hope for it to be. But Las Vegas itself, I've always been aware of the fact that Las Vegas is a unique entity. It's not like any city anywhere else in the world. I'm very, very aware of the fact that the whole of the city is built on a lie. You've got the opulence of the Strip, and yet you've got people basically sleeping, according to a New York Times report many years ago, that there are people sleeping in storm drains because they can't actually afford to live here. They can afford, or they're being paid so poorly in the hotels and restaurants that they basically effectively sleep rough in order to work here. I was aware of that before I arrived, but that has got so much worse. For anybody that's ever been to Las Vegas, you'll know that the Las Vegas Strip is quite hard to navigate. You've got lots and lots of escalators and travelators as you move about the place to get you from one place to another. This time, while we've been here, we have seen people sleeping rough, not even in shelters. They are literally camped on bridges, sleeping literally on the sidewalk as people walk past, and walk past on their way to multi-billion pound hotels and restaurants. That's pretty tough to deal with. But the one that really did it for me, and the real reason for doing this video, we left the show yesterday after a fantastic day, really upbeat, no qualms or complaints on my part. We'd been in amongst the equipment. Now, bear in mind, you're talking about some of the articulated trucks here, for example, going $800,000, maybe $1 million, or whatever it might be. So you've got the wealth of the industry right here in the showground. You then travel back to the Las Vegas Strip, where the wealth and the opulence is endless, as you would expect, because it is Las Vegas. And between the two, we came across, in a taxi ride, we came across a tent. And there appeared to be a family living in a tent in basically a storm channel, where they don't get a great deal of rain here, but when it does rain, they have these drainage channels that take the water away. And our taxi, or our Uber actually, pulled up alongside one of these tents, literally as we were waiting at a traffic light. And I pointed it out to my son Fred and said, look, that's the other side of Vegas that people don't normally know about. When the car edged forward, it turned out there wasn't just one tent. There were probably 100, 150, maybe even 200 that stretched literally as far as the eye could see down this storm drain channel. So here at the Las Vegas Convention Center, I would guess, I can't even guess, billions of dollars worth of equipment on display here, all vying for business in multi-billion dollar construction, mining, quarrying. A stone's throw away from here, as I look up, I can see the Conrad Hotel and the Encore Hotel by Wynn. You're looking at multi-billion dollar hotels, casinos, resorts. And literally between those hotels and this convention center, there are people sleeping in Las Vegas in a storm drain. Maybe it's my age, maybe it is the fact that I am of advancing years these days, but that sits really uncomfortably with me, I have to say. I'd be naive to say that, well, it would be naive to say that I wasn't expecting a bit of that. But in the 3 years, bearing in mind I was here 3 years ago to this very day, for the last ConExpo, it seems to have got so much worse. I already had a slight pang of guilt, I guess, about coming to ConExpo. I spend a lot of my time talking about sustainability and the need to safeguard the environment, and yet I've flown however many thousands of miles on an aircraft to come and look around some diggers. So I already had a few pangs of guilt, I guess. Those pangs of guilt are nothing compared to what I've seen here. And the worrying thing is that I am every bit as guilty as everybody else. I mean, I think the American system is broken in the fact that we are willingly paying tips to people, waiting staff in restaurants and even in takeaways, because they are so poorly paid by their employers. But the very fact that I've travelled to a city where it basically treats its people so poorly that they are sleeping in a storm drain, it's left a bad taste in my mouth. Based on that, would I come back? I'm due back here next year for the MineXpo show next September. And as it stands at the moment, and as I say, you need to understand the context. It's been a tough show. I've felt every one of my 58 years while I've been doing this show. My feet hurt, my legs hurt, I'm not sleeping particularly well, so maybe there's a degree of that. But as it stands right now on the final Friday of the ConExpo show, I'm starting to wonder whether I will be back for MineXpo. Obviously, I'd like to come back. I love Vegas. MineXpo is a fantastic show. The people of America, as always, are incredibly welcoming. But the bit that lurks just below the surface, really, really tough to deal with. So yeah, we'll see how that pans out. As I say, I wasn't planning to make this film. Not even entirely sure if I will ever actually publish it, which would have made the whole of the last 10 minutes or so completely worthless. But yeah, it's the unseen side, I think. The bit of ConExpo and the bit of Las Vegas that most people don't see, and even if they do see it, they don't talk about it. So, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Back to the show, I guess. So, will I still go back to Vegas for MineXpo in September next year? Probably. It's my job. Will I go back in 2026 when ConExpo rolls back into town? Health allowing? Probably. But if I do return, I hope to find a city that feels a little less broken than it does right now. Now, before we go any further, it is time to find out who has won the Volvo Penta iPhone stand. How many entries have we actually had? We've had 5. Apparently not that many people want a Volvo Penta iPhone stand. It's a self-assembly. Maybe that's put people off. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to type the word Penta, P-E-N-T-A, into the chat, and then I will actually do the prize draw. In fact, while you're any last entries, let me see if I can get this up on the screen. That's what it looks like right about there. We've just had a last-minute entry come in under the wire. I'm not sure who that was from. It was from Steve Williamson. Good morning, Steve. I will say good morning to you properly in a second. But Steve was one of the big, well, Steve and Ed, let's be absolutely fair, Steve and Ed were one of the big draws at the show. Guys did their country, their respective countries, Scotland and Wales, but Britain, they did us proud. Kinsoffer did Kinsoffer proud, and literally every time Ed or Steve got behind the controls on the Kinsoffer stand, the crowds were drawn from far and wide. They did a fantastic job. So maybe Steve is deserving of the prize that we're about to draw. So without further ado, let me hit the button and see who has actually won the Volvo Penta iPhone stand. Jeff Pinion, Mr. Brock himself, is now the proud owner of a Volvo Penta iPhone stand. We do have, I know I've got at least one more. We may have 2 more of those. We'll be giving those away at some point in the coming weeks. But Jeff, remind me somewhere. DM me or something, remind me of your postal address, and I will get that in the post with my very best wishes. Now, let me turn this banner off because obviously that one is over and done with. Let me get rid of that. But Jeff Penny, congratulations. that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping. I always leap gazelle-like, but it'd be gazelle-like with quite sore feet. Over to the chat to see what you're all saying today. If you can't stick around for that, and I know Luke Arney's already left us, then please stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Have a great day, and thanks for watching. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll see you on the other side of this for the Craic. Good morning, gang. Good morning, gang. Thank you very much indeed for being here, and thank you for your patience over the past 3 or 4 days. I was due back on Monday. I'll be the first to admit it, but I was destroyed. I don't know what it was. It obviously clocked up a lot of steps. iPhone Watch kept me informed of that. Or Apple Watch, should I say, not an iPhone Watch, kept me informed on the number of steps that I was racking up, but it was a lack of sleep. And I am one of those people, I can get on a plane and I'm usually asleep before I actually take off. Didn't happen on the way out. I was awake pretty much the entire time. Got to Las Vegas, tried to get myself on American time, and yet every single morning I was looking out the window watching the sunrise over the mountains that surround Las Vegas. Come 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening, I was dead on my feet, had some early nights, didn't make any difference, and I got back on Sunday afternoon. Felt like death warmed up, slept quite a bit of the journey home, and then slept the entire night on Sunday night and still felt like death. So yeah, there was no way I could have done the show, but I apologise for my absence. So back to the beginning of the chat. Ken Hatcher was first off the morning. Good morning, Ken, and thank you for being here, and thank you indeed for your patience during our prolonged absence. Gary Muirhead is here as well. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, gang, and welcome back, Mark. Thank you very much indeed, Gary. Yeah, I must admit, I did have some pangs of guilt about delaying my return, but I was making no sense whatsoever. It was that bad. I actually sat down with my laptop on, let me think, this would have been Tuesday, and my eyes were that tired that I couldn't actually read what was on the screen. And I was sat there trying to figure out how to get YouTube on my laptop, and I couldn't remember how. There's a button that says YouTube, and it just, brain was fried. So there we are. Now, I've already mentioned the fact that she's left, but Lou Carney is here, and thank you very much indeed for being here, Lou, even though you've now gone off to your Zoom call. And great news about XCMG coming to Plantworks. That's exciting times. I don't know, as I say, I was told by my new best buddy, Tom Schwind over at XCMG in the US, that XCMG were supposed to be here in the UK already, and it was only due to an inability to find the right people to run it, that they weren't here already. I can't imagine XCMG exhibiting at Plantworks unless they're planning to come pretty damn soon. It's not that long away now, so there we are. There he is, the returning hero. Steve Williamson is here as well. Good morning, Steve. And I am not saying this just because he's here. Steve and Ed really did do an absolutely cracking job. They promised they had a new bag of tricks up their sleeve, and boy oh boy did they deliver. And literally every time they fired their machine up, they drew the crowds, and they got to hang out, or at least Steve, I know Steve did, got to hang out with a good few members of the cast of Gold Rush. Lost on me, I've never watched an episode of Gold Rush, but I know Steve was dead excited about it, and he got to meet most of the gang there as well, which is fantastic. Mick Norton is here as well. Morning, Mark. He says, good morning to you, Mick. Thank you very much indeed for your patience during my absence. Dan Cullen says, welcome back, Mr. Anthony. Can't wait to see your content. There it is. We've laid at least some of it before you. Quite a few entries here. Mick Dalton, Ken Hatcher entering the competition. There we are. I was a little confused. I thought Lou Carney had DM'd me. It turns out she'd actually DM'd Dan Cullen. So, yeah, I just keep my nose out of their business. Morning, Mark, says Mark White. Morning, Mark. What a fine name you have there, sir. Good morning to you as well. Let's have a look. My question of the day, yeah, it was as I say, the internet connection or internet connectivity in Las Vegas was terrible, absolutely terrible. So I did miss some of the news, but it turns out all I missed was a bit of rain by the sound of things. I think I answered that. I did not spot a D11B Dozer on display at Las Vegas. Jim Turner's in the house. Morning, Mark. And morning, Jim. I've said hello to this person, even though I don't know how to pronounce their name. But thank you very much indeed for being here. Yes, lovely machines they had on the OilQuick booth. They really did. We've got a couple of films from the OilQuick booth actually, and I'm gonna do my very best Louisiana accent for you in a minute. It'll make sense when I do it. But at one end of their stand, they had a machine on loan from East Coast Demolition. My mate Ricky Webb from East Coast Demolition was there. We've interviewed him as well. And then at the far end of their display, they had a machine decked out in camouflage. It was on loan from a company called Bottom Line Equipment, and I met the owner of Bottom Line Equipment while I was there. Good morning, Kurt, if you're watching. And Kurt, basically, the reason it's in camouflage was it's part of a rental fleet, and 25% of all rental income from that machine goes to. It used to go to military veterans, but it now goes to military and those in first responders. So veterans from the fire service, from paramedics, and also from the police service as well. Fantastic deal. But I got to speaking to Kurt, and as I said, Kurt is from down south in America. And he was telling me about the fact that he had formerly worked with his father in his father's company, and he said he couldn't deal with his father anymore. And as he put it, he said he left, but his father is still torturing his brother and his sister. So Kurt quit with nothing new to do. He literally quit. And this is where I'm going to do my very best Southern American accent. So I said, so what did you do next? And he said, well, I drank some beer with my buddies and I went fishing. And then I drank some more beer with my buddies and we went some fishing some more. And then my wife, she made unreasonable demands upon my person. She said I should get a job. The guy was an absolute legend. I'm looking forward to bringing that one to you. And as I say, the very fact that he's giving away 25% of the rental of this sexy new machine that he's got to American military and can't think of there must be a word for the emergency services, for veterans from the emergency services. Absolute star. And they did really have some fantastic machines on display there. I don't like the lifting eye though. That would have been on the OilQuick stand. Okay. And Ken then goes on to say, I wish I'd gone now. I would have enjoyed it. You really would. It was, as he said there, I think the show is a bit bigger now. It's a lot bigger. It's hard to explain just what they've done. The festival grounds, I think they've crammed more in. That's the outside bit, which you saw with the OilQuick, and with my walk around as well. So there is more of that. There is a silver lot and a diamond lot. They are bigger as well. But the halls as well are more full. There are more exhibitors than there have ever been. There were more visitors than there have ever been. Biggest show to date, which kind of preempts a question I think from Mick Norton a bit later on, which I'll get to in just a second. Let's have a look. There's the news hot off the press that XCMG are coming to Plantworks. Looking forward to seeing them. I have to say, although the XCMG stand in Las Vegas was manned at least partly by Americans, the Chinese do give you a very warm welcome. That you are like a returning long lost relative. They really do greet you very warmly. I had a fantastic time with XCMG, and I'm looking forward to catching up with them again at Plantworks. Yeah, obviously the political situation in China and Russia may well impact on XCMG, but nothing halts the march of commerce, does it? There's Jeff Pinion, who swept in late and walked away with a big prize. Fairly big prize, you get the idea. No, I didn't do case, I didn't do cat. I can only apologise. Now, just to set your mind at ease, obviously I wasn't alone in being there. I saw Nick Drew who I don't think I spotted in the chat today. I saw Nick Drew the day before the show opened, and I saw him on the flight on the way home. Didn't cross paths with him at all. Not because I was avoiding him, and I'm hoping it wasn't because he was avoiding me, but because we were both so busy. Peter Haddock was there with his son Lucas. Lucas interviewed me on the Devil On stand, and then I didn't see them again until the journey home. So we were all so busy. But what I can tell you is I know that both Peter and Lucas Haddock spent some time on the Caterpillar stand. They will have coverage from Caterpillar. I would imagine, I haven't seen it, but I would imagine that Nick and Peter possibly will have been over to the K stand as well. So go and check out Content with Me during the Digging of Van blog. I'm sure you'll find exactly what you're looking for. And no, I didn't go to the JCB engine stand. That one was out of choice, and I mean that with the utmost respect to the fine folks at JCB. Basically, they were launching their hydrogen combustion engine to the US market. I've already seen it. I've already been to the production line. I've covered it here several times. I didn't see much point in covering what I'd already covered. I did speak to a couple of the JCB guys. I spoke to John Kavanagh while I was over there, and I think Tim Bonehope was actually on my flight on the way out. So I've spoken to them, explained the situation, but no, I didn't get to it because it was, when you're that pushed for time, you have to be picky, and I thought I would choose to avoid one that I've already seen, if you get the idea. Yeah, as Steve Williamson says, you'd need to be there to really understand how widespread the show was. It really, as I say, 30,000 steps on the opening day, and that included a couple of taxi rides as well. This wasn't just me arsing about, you know. I know I've been there 3 times. I've been there, I reckon I've done 9, possibly 10, and I listen. I realise I'm 3 years older than the last time I did it, but this one really, it's not on a Bauma scale. The difference with Bauma, though, I think, is there is a tendency to take it in chunks. So you know, you might do a haul one day, another haul another day. You might decide to go and do Liebherr and Komatsu and Sennabogen because they're all close together on another day and so on. But with this, and I think partly because of the way that we filmed it, we were going from one end of the show to another, other end of the show to the other. We just covered so much ground. And as Steve said, biggest ever. So maybe we did it wrong. I never return from one of these shows thinking, I'm feeling satisfied in what I've done. I'm absolutely delighted with some of the films that we've shot. We've got some absolute corkers to bring you over the coming weeks and months. But did we cover the show as well as we might have done? Maybe not. We'll cover it either way. You'd think they put on more days of the show at ConExpo. Yeah, well, I mean, what is it on? It's Tuesday through till Saturday. So, I mean, I guess the only extension possible is Monday. I think the thing you have to understand is that Las Vegas Convention Center is so incredibly busy. Literally, and I'm sure Steve Williamson can speak to this, literally the show closed on the Saturday. The stands were being torn down by the Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, because within a day or two there'll be another conference or convention going in there on a completely different subject. So it really is a fast turnaround. So whether there is actually space for an additional day, not entirely sure. Steve Williamson, same area, the convention centre covers, the outside area is a bit bigger. Yeah, it is the same area the convention centre covers. But as you will recall, you've got a South Hall, a North Hall, and a Central Hall. Good God Almighty, they were rammed. Absolutely rammed. We filmed with both Topcon and Unicontroller in what I think may have been the Central Hall. Don't hold me to that. Komatsu were in there as well. K-Tech were in there. Enormous, and so many stands in there. An unbelievable amount of stands in there. Just impossible to cover everything. I will watch the rest on catch up, says Luke Arney on the Zoom now. Good to have you back. It's good to be back. Would I still like to be in Las Vegas right now with my feet up, outside the wind, watching the world go by, watching the lifeguards in their red bikinis? Yeah, I wouldn't mind. But I'm back. So there you are. Good question, says Mick Norton. What advantages does a live visit to ConExpo have over accessing the various products on the internet? Are these huge shows likely to fold? Simple answer, no. No, I don't think they are. There was a time mid and immediately post-pandemic when I thought we would start to head towards hybrid events. So part online, part live, part physical events. That I think is fine for what I would call the daytime part of, excuse me, somebody's trying to get hold of me. That would be fine for the daytime part of the show. And I think the likes of Caterpillar and JCB and Volvo, Komatsu, Demolition, Liebherr, all of these companies are very, very well equipped to host an online event to display their wares, and I'm sure everyone would have a great time. What that doesn't allow is the interaction on the stands, around the stands, over coffee in the morning, over coffee in the afternoon, in the bars during the evening. And I have to say, I in taxi queues, in elevators, hotel receptions, restaurants, everywhere you went, everybody was talking about ConExpo. They were talking about plant, they were talking about construction and demolition and mining and quarrying. It was like the entire world had descended on there. And again, because it was the first ConExpo after 3 years, obviously because of the pandemic, I'm sure there was a fair degree of we're just glad to be back and to be able to mix with people. But I do think that the social side of an exhibition like ConExpo, like Bauma, like Plantworks, I genuinely believe that is irreplaceable. Yes, you can display the machines and you can do some very sexy things with the internet. I'd like to think we're part of that. And I'm sure that there are some manufacturers, and I know Volvo is among them. I know there are some manufacturers that prefer to host their own events because then their message isn't diluted, that you don't have visitors coming to your stand and then literally walking across the aisle to go and see what Caterpillar are up to. I understand all of that, but you do genuinely miss the interaction between the stands. I mean, that was, if there was, aside from getting from one end of the show to the other, the biggest drain on my time was bumping into people in the aisles. And before you know it, you've clocked up half an hour just chewing the fat and catching up because you haven't seen them in 3 years. It was a drain on time, but a very welcome drain, I have to say. So yes, my personal belief is we have got exhibitions for a good bit longer yet. Machine with the knocks was sold during the show. Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I know we were at, let me think. I actually heard this on a couple of stands, but I know at the MB Crusher stand, virtually every attachment they had on their stand was remaining exactly where it was because it was going off to customers. So there you are. No thanks necessary, Steve. As I say, you and Ed put on a fantastic show. When you're working at these shows, you just can't cover everything. You can't. And in truth, we doubled up a lot. Myself and Fred doubled up a lot. He is very good behind the camera, as I'm sure you've seen. I tend to be a bit more forward-facing. So a lot of the interviews that we've done, including the one we did with Kevin Breen that you saw earlier today, and the one with Grib that you'll see tomorrow, I am doing the interview. Fred is filming the interview, and so we doubled up. So yes, we probably could have covered more, but I think you just have to accept that you're not going to see everything. And our concentration was trying to bring you the very best of the very best of the very best. If you really want to get a flavour for ConExpo 2023, hop over to YouTube. As I say, check out the Digger Man blog, check out Content with Media, check out Awesome Earth Movers, check out Build Wit, and I bumped into Aaron Witt very briefly while I was at the show as well. Pushy Six was there as well, lots of other people as well. Loads and loads of content over on YouTube, but we tried to focus. Maybe we over-focused, and I may in months to come when I'm sitting there looking back at it with my feet now recovered, I may look back and think maybe it was we could have done it a better way, but there we are. Are we going to see more of Fred in front of the camera than behind? Can't see it. Can't see it. There was talk about him doing some live TikToks with him in front of the camera. As far as I'm aware, we weren't together all the time. As far as I'm aware, that never happened. It didn't happen primarily because of internet connection. And I know Steve Williams managed to go live a few times. I don't know how many times. He managed to get a decent connection. We couldn't. Maybe we were in the wrong bit of the show. But no, Fred remains stubbornly behind the camera. I think maybe if he was in front of the camera, maybe we would have covered more of the show. But it's a horses for courses. I like the sound of my own voice. Fred, not so much. That's the way it is, I guess. Young Lucas has done some fantastic interviews from ConExpo. It's a very, very interesting thing that he's got to speak to some very, very senior people, both from Leica and I think from Caterpillar as well. I mean, literally sort of director level at Caterpillar, and I wonder why that is. I think there is a degree of manufacturers like Caterpillar being keen to be seen to be engaging with young people. But I think there's also a fresh perspective. You know, let's face it, you know, us seasoned hacks will probably ask the same boring questions time and time again, whereas somebody like Lucas has none of that baggage with him. As I say, he interviewed me, and it was unplanned. It was literally, we grabbed up, 20 minutes on the Demolition stand because we both happened to be there. And some of the questions he asked me, genuinely, never heard them before. Happy to respond to them. And I'm looking forward to seeing the video. He shot it using his dad's fancy new camera. I don't even know how it works. So yes, I will be watching the Content with Media channel with considerable interest because I'm about to be on it. As I say, that was one of the other asides. I was filmed several times. XCMG, I know I'm on camera. I don't know what they're planning to do with it, but I was certainly on camera with Liebherr. They had an ambassadors event on the, let me think, was that the second day, or the second official day of the show. So myself and Fred were invited. My mate Katie Callagher, or our mate Katie Callagher, was there, but that was the UK contingent, and there was nobody else. So very honoured and privileged to be part of such a select group. As I say, Aaron Witt from BuildWit, biggest construction channel in the world, was there. Fred, in next door, is the third biggest construction channel in the world. He was there too. I was there carrying the bags, I think, but I am the biggest demolition channel in the world. Don't ever forget that. By comparison, I'm relatively small, but yeah, there we are. But as I say, we also had, who else was there? I know Pushy6 was there. If anybody's over on YouTube, Pushy6 is a big Caterpillar advocate, or has been in the past, but is now part of the Liebherr fan club as well. Steve Williamson met Aaron Witt too. Such a nice fella. And you know what I find? Some of you, Steve included, some of you have met me. I don't know quite what image you have of me out there, but in my head, I've spoken to Aaron Witt over the phone and over the internet in the past. In my head, Aaron Witt goes about 6'2", is a big sort of strapping American college dude. He's about 5'7". Just a little fella. But as Steve said, nice fella. Yeah, absolutely, and does a fantastic job. I mean, he's built an incredible business with BuildWit as well. So yeah, but yeah, I as far as I was concerned, he was going to be a big sort of college football type of guy. Nope, a little diddy fella. Thanks. Yes, I think Steve agrees. Yeah, he's not the biggest guy in the world. Right, people. I have places to be and people to see. But I'm going to continue sporting this for quite some time now. Fred bought me this, actually. I don't even know when. He didn't give it to me until we got back home, which is a slight shame because I would have worn it around the show. But we landed back in the UK and he said, "Oh, I've got you a present." He's got it in black. Mine actually looks better, if I promise. It really does look better. I'm going to be back again tomorrow. Now I'm back in the swing of things. This was far more painless than I remembered it to be. So I will be back here tomorrow. I hope you will be here as well. We'll have another giveaway. A couple of bits remaining on my desk. There's one of these things. It's another Volvo Penta. Maybe we'll save that for another time. But we've also got things like this. That is a water bottle, which, as you can see, very flimsy. As you can also see, I think it bears the name Rockback. Maybe we'll do that one tomorrow. Maybe we'll do that as a double up with a Rockback hat. So if you're into that kind of thing, if you're into Rockback, and why the hell would you not be, tune in tomorrow and we'll try and do some giveaways on that too. Jeff Pinion, if you're still here, remind me of your postal address and I'll get you your iPhone stand. You can spend, I don't know, about 4 seconds assembling that at your leisure. Until tomorrow, everybody, please have a fantastic day. Look after yourself. Stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, your colleagues. Usual old tosh that I always say about this point. Until I see you again, have a great day and thanks for your patience during my prolonged absence. Catch you later.